Mizuno, renowned for making some of the best irons on the market for years now. And that's not really changing, if I'm honest with you. We have got the Mizuno Pro irons. There's two new irons that have come out for this year. We've got the M-13 and M-15 irons, which are going to blend beautifully into the S1 and S3s. We're going to focus on the new product for this particular video. So let's get into it and see how they perform. Well, I couldn't really start this video by getting in the tech before we take a closer look at how great these irons look themselves. I mean, you would expect it, wouldn't you? Mizuno, they have produced some of the best looking irons over the years, and we haven't stopped that. We've moved into something that looks absolutely fantastic. If I start with the M15, we've got very minimal look on the back there. If anything, you'd think it looks a little bit more like a blade, but it isn't. We'll get into that as well. You've got the running bird just sort of nestled up into the corner there, and Mizuno Pro on the back. Then when I move into the M13s, slightly different in the profile from this one. We've got that small badge there, which has that running bird and the M13 logo in there, and then Mizuno Pro on the top there. If I flip them over though, on the top line, seeing slightly thinner top line out of the M13 compared to the M15, but to be honest with you, it's minimal. On that note, let's start talking the tech. So starting off with the M15 iron, integrated construction, what does that actually mean? Well, it means that we've got a hollow body construction within this set. However, it's partial. What I mean by that is that we've got 4 iron through to 7 iron that we've got a hollow body construction, which means that I've taken the weight out, and then we've got a tungsten weight that goes into the bottom part of this iron, which enables me to be able to launch that ball really nice and high. Then when we move into the 8 iron, we've still got that hollow body. However, we don't have any tungsten, which means that we can keep that ball flight down. Then we move into the scoring zone. This is kind of 9 irons into your wedge, and this is where we've got partial hollow body, which means we've got a little bit less taken out the top, which means that we can keep that CG in the right place to keep that ball flight nice and down, which is what we're all looking for coming into those greens for that control. Right, having hit my rangefinder number, I've now got 155 yards into this back pin, which is perfect for the 7 iron in this M15 iron. Let's give it a go and just see how it actually feels, but also let's see what the flight looks like with it. Wow. Well, there's a few things you're going to notice with that one. Is just how controlled the flight was coming in. What's great about this set of irons is they've made that CG position a little bit more progressive. So as we work into the longer irons, as I said, really getting that ball up into the air, as we work our way down into those scoring zones, we can control that flight nicely. And I definitely saw it on that particular shot. Well, they do say that nothing feels quite like a Mizuno, and I've got to say the sense off of that club there, I think I was expecting to feel something maybe a little bit different to what we've had in the past from Mizuno, but I haven't hit the green, so I've not actually got a green in regulation, but I've got it pretty much pin high, which is always good. But I was expecting a sound that was maybe a little bit more flexy off the face because of that hollow body construction. However, what we've got with this particular setup is we've got grain flow forging, which is impressive, to say the least, when it comes to this style of iron, but it blends in lovely with all the other Mizuno Pro irons that they've had. They've also got harmonic impact technology, which is really important, especially in a set of irons like this, to be able to control those acoustics coming out of the actual club itself. And then finally, to add to that little bit of a softer feel, we've got a copper underlay just underneath the surface, which really does add to the whole ingredients to create the sound and feel that we're looking for from a Mizuno. Right, let's see if we can chip this in just off the edge of the green with a 7 iron. Not enough of you play with 7 irons off the edge. Let's see if we can pop it in. Come on, break, break, break. Oof. Okay, with that in mind, let's go and check out the M13 and see what that one has to offer. So moving into the M13 irons, same technology coming into this iron from the M15, that integrated construction, which is really important to helping get the perfect launch that we're looking for. However, no tungsten in these because we don't necessarily need it, because we've got a little bit more loft in these irons compared to the M15s. But the most impressive part is when you move into the scoring zone. We've got that one-piece forging, which is going to give us that improved impact, sound and feel. So what was impressive about that one shot that I've hit in there, even though it's gone a little bit long and a little bit left from this position, is how I impacted into the ground. We've got triple cut sole on these irons, which means we've got a little bit of a wear on that front edge there, which allows us to get into the actual ground itself, but then you've got that back edge which is going to allow it to come back out. Now, I felt like I got a little bit steep on that shot, but as you can see from that divot, it's not too deep, and therefore I'm still able to control my ball flight. So taking a closer look at the numbers, M13 to M15, remember there's a difference in loft between these two clubs that we're testing here in the 7 irons. M15 coming out at 29 degrees of loft, whereas the M13 coming out at 32 degrees of loft. So I'm going to see a slight difference in ball speed, 115 compared to 119 that I'm getting from that M15. If we look at launch angles with the M13, I'm getting 19.5 degrees compared to 17 degrees out of the M15. And then when we move into spin, I'm expecting to see a slight difference here, just short of 6,000 revs that I'm getting out of the M13 and shaking up to 5,500 revs that I'm getting out of that M15. Peak heights within a yard of each other, so I'm not seeing a great deal difference there, which is probably why we're seeing that tungsten positioned where it is with those M15 irons. And then yardage wise, you've got to think about the difference in loft, you've got to think about the difference in spin. 158 yards I'm getting out of that M13, which for me is really good, compared to 168 yards that I'm getting out of that M15. What I love about this setup is I think this is going to be a perfect opportunity for people to be able to combo sets a little bit. Looking at that M13, maybe in the shorter clubs, more scoring zones, and then maybe moving into a little bit more help when we move into those M15s and we start to get those clubs getting closer together. So really important that we go through a custom fitting session when it comes to that, and that's where your foremost professional comes in and is able to help you on that side of it. So make sure you go and book yourself in, have a conversation with the team and see which of these irons is going to work best for you this season.